Have you been living a lie, or is everything around you just a lie? You'd think this was an obvious question, right? Well, have you ever had a dream you were so sure was real? What if you're unable to wake from that dream? How could you tell what was real and what was not? Sure, you can trust your senses. That's one way, but what if I tell you your senses lie to you as well? Like this pencil that looks like it's bending when you know it's not. Optical illusions that make things move when they cannot. But that's just your sight. What about your other senses? They do this as well. Even sound can change things. Just with the thought of a word in your mind can make one noise sound like that word. But if you have another word in your mind, it will sound like something else. I'm playing an audio recording right now, but what is it saying? Is it BRAINSTORM, right? Or is it green needle? Two very different words, but whichever word I put on the screen is what you'll start to hear. And I promise, I copy and pasted the same recording over and over. But the worst one is when your sense of touch fails you. Poke your tongue out, then twist it upside down. Now run your finger underneath from one side to the other. It'll feel like it's going the opposite way, because your brain doesn't understand that you have your tongue that way round. With this in mind, it doesn't seem to matter if you're dreaming or you're awake. Either way, you cannot trust reality. But what you can trust, I'll be bringing out another 2 theory videos about the Matrix. So, subscribe or Agent Smith will turn you into a clone. So if you've managed to watch The Matrix and are still confused on the idea of simulation theory, then I'll give you a quick rundown. With humans' technology advancing at a rapid pace, especially in the gaming community, where we've gone from board games and pixelated handhelds to powerful consoles, touchscreens and 3D devices, along with the most important ones here, augmented and virtual reality. I know that virtual reality is far from a matrix. You're well aware that you're wearing a phone on your face. But is this just like the first Game Boy, only to advance into the 3DS? A matrix of sorts? Well, yes, technology hasn't stopped increasing or even slowed down. It's actually gaining momentum. Think about this, in 1885 the first car was invented, and then in 1969 we landed on the moon. Literally from horseback to spacefaring in less than 100 years. And the gaming companies are always looking into more immersive ways to use their technology to obtain your money for future investments, which may just one day be a virtual reality of life that is undistinguishable from our own reality. But what if you woke up in that reality? You wouldn't even know you was in virtual reality. The scary part about this is that if it's possible, then it would be a bit arrogant of us to assume that we're the first. It could have already happened, and we may have been born in the Matrix. And to the creators of this reality potentially thinking they're gods, with how powerful they think that they are, with the question of who created our creator, they too could also be in a simulation. So to answer the simulation possibility, then yes, it is obviously possible. And if it's possible, then we should look for evidence. And just so you know, I don't mean glitches in the Matrix like deja vu or ghosts or deja vu and such.
Oh, deja vu.
I mean something in physics that mimics an effect of virtual reality. And yeah, there's something. In quantum physics, there's something called the observer effect. Things like electrons and photons act differently if they are being observed or measured. This effect is seen with the double slit experiment. It was discovered that these particles, when fired at a wall with 2 holes, create a pattern, showing that it acts like a wave. Which is weird, but they thought the particles might be interacting with each other to create this wave pattern. So they tried firing single particles every so often over a set period of time, so that couldn't happen. But it still acted like a wave, which is confusing. How can a single particle go through both holes and move like a wave? The next thing they did was try to figure out which hole the particle went through. So they set up something to measure its position as it passes through the holes. But the results of this can really mess with your mind. If you observe them, they change to particles, creating a pattern you'd expect to see from particles. But if you stop observing them, they act like a wave. So the varying factor here is literally, if you are observing these particles, they change. This is potentially implying that the universe acts differently when you are looking at it, but when you are not, it is stored like information. In some ways, just like a game that only renders the world that is in your field of vision, potentially to save on computing power. But how would it work?
This will feel a little weird.
Will we be jacking into the Matrix with a plug in the back of our heads, and for what purpose? Batteries, like they say in the Matrix? Well, it's a bit unclear on how we'd do this yet, but it's possible that we could just upload our own consciousness into the Matrix, or like in Avatar where the consciousness is transferred from one body to another, but the other body is in virtual reality. As for using humans as batteries, that would be a very ineffective way to collect power. Even cows have a higher output of energy, and they're not likely to rebel against the Matrix, but could still have made a decent film, I'm sure. However, this wasn't the original plot of the Matrix. This was changed because they didn't think that the viewer would be able to fully understand the original concept, that the machines was using humans for their brain power. A human-powered supercomputer, if you like, which actually makes more sense in some ways. You see, humans and computers are both very powerful, but also very different. We humans struggle to do complex calculations and predictions, whereas computers don't. But on the other hand, humans find tasks like walking and simply picking up an object very easy, whereas the computers would find this a very complex process. So working together makes us better as a whole, by having the best of both worlds. So this would actually make a lot more sense to the grander scheme of things. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, remember to like this video and hit that red pill down there that looks like a subscribe button for the next 2 Matrix Theory videos coming out soon. Look forward to the next one. Neo never left the Matrix, which makes me think maybe we've been looking at this the wrong way. We shouldn't be considering how to enter the Matrix. We should have been looking at how to break out of it.